Perception is everything in the game of power. It doesn't matter what your true intentions are. What matters is how others see you. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that in order to gain and maintain influence, you must master the art of appearances. People rarely take the time to understand the full picture. They judge you based on surface-level cues, quick impressions, and the image you project. This is why controlling perception is not just useful, it's essential. You must become a sculptor of your own image, shaping how others view you with precision and purpose. In life, people don't follow the strongest person, they follow the one who seems the strongest. Confidence, certainty, and composure project power even when the situation is chaotic. If you walk into a room unsure of yourself, people will treat you accordingly. But if you appear calm, in control, and decisive, others will assume you have something they lack. This illusion creates leverage. You can't always control reality, but you can influence how others interpret it. That's real power. Mastering perception means knowing how to read a room and adjust your presentation to match your objective. You must know when to be loud and when to be silent, when to dress sharply and when to appear humble, when to play the fool and when to reveal your brilliance. It's about timing and awareness. There is strategy in every word you say, every gesture you make, every detail of your presence. People are constantly scanning for cues, social, emotional, behavioral. And your job is to feed them exactly what you want them to see, no more, no less. This isn't about being fake. It's about being deliberate. Most people move through life carelessly, unaware of how they're perceived, reacting emotionally, revealing too much. That's weakness. The Machiavellian approach is to always stay aware of your image and to guard it like a weapon. Appear stronger, wiser, more composed than you feel. Let people underestimate your flaws while overestimating your strengths. This gives you space to maneuver. You'll find that people treat you according to the version of you they think they're dealing with, not the real you. That illusion becomes a shield. It also becomes a sword. When you control perception, you don't just survive. You influence, manipulate, and ascend. Controlling the narrative means taking charge of the story people tell about you, your actions, and your intentions in any environment, whether it's political, professional, or personal. Those who shape the narrative hold power. People don't operate based on facts. They operate based on what they believe to be true. If you allow others to define your story, your image, or your intentions, you surrender control over how you're perceived. That is a strategic vulnerability. Machiavelli understood this clearly. Perception, image, and story are weapons in the battle for influence. Whoever tells the most convincing story wins, even if it isn't true. You must become the author of your own narrative before someone else writes it for you. This means proactively managing the way you're spoken about in rooms you're not in. It means carefully crafting your message, knowing what to reveal, what to withhold, and when to speak. Silence can be powerful, but silence without narrative control creates space for enemies to define you. Your competitors, your critics, and even your allies will fill in the blanks if you don't. They'll assign motives, spread misinformation, exaggerate flaws, or twist your strengths into threats. This is why you must always be one step ahead, presenting your version of events in a way that is not just persuasive, but difficult to challenge. Controlling the narrative also requires emotional discipline. You can't defend against every rumor or correct every misinterpretation. That would signal weakness and insecurity. Instead, you must pick your moments and shape the story in broader strokes. Use key phrases, visual cues, and aligned actions to reinforce your chosen identity. Repeat the same themes until they become associated with you automatically. Are you the problem solver, the visionary, the silent strategist? Decide on your character and play it consistently. The more predictable your image, the more powerful your narrative becomes. Most people communicate reactively. They respond to what's being said about them, often emotionally, without understanding that this just fuels the opposing story. But when you control the narrative, you don't just respond, you dictate, you make yourself the reference point for truth. Others are forced to frame themselves in contrast to you. This shifts the power dynamic. You are no longer just a participant in conversations. You become the source, the authority, the voice that others echo or try to challenge. Appearing weak when you are actually strong is one of the most effective strategies in the Machiavellian playbook. Power that hides itself gains the advantage of surprise. When others underestimate you, they lower their guard, reveal their intentions, and expose their weaknesses. This is the moment when a calculated individual strikes. True strength isn't loud. It's hidden behind layers of misdirection. The greatest power moves are made in silence, in the shadows, under the radar. When you deliberately appear weak, passive, or even clueless, people stop seeing you as a threat. That gives you space to observe, to plan, and to act with precision. Most people are obsessed with showing their power. They talk too much, try too hard to impress, and reveal their hand before the game has even started. This is not strength, it's insecurity. It invites conflict. It warns others to prepare their defenses. But when you appear harmless, people show you their true selves. They feel safe, and in that comfort, they become careless. Their strategies become visible. Their vulnerabilities are exposed. You gain access to information and insight that would otherwise be hidden. This is the power of invisibility. There is also psychological strength in restraint. It takes control to resist the urge to show off, to correct others, to prove your superiority. But this restraint builds tension. It creates mystery. People begin to wonder what you're really thinking, what you're truly capable of. You become unpredictable. Unpredictability is power. It unsettles people, makes them cautious, and in that hesitation, you gain the upper hand. Appear naive and they'll drop their guard. Appear slow and they'll rush ahead. Appear weak and they'll overextend. Then, at the right moment, you show your strength, not all of it, just enough to shift the entire balance. This strategy also protects your ego. If you lose while appearing weak, it was expected. If you win, it's shocking. Either way, you control the emotional narrative. You suffer no shame in failure, and you maximize the impact of success. That emotional advantage gives you psychological dominance. People remember being surprised. They remember underestimating you. And once that memory is burned into their minds, they start second, guessing themselves the next time they face you. That hesitation becomes a tool. It weakens their confidence while strengthening your position.
Setting strategic traps is one of the most subtle and devastating tactics in the art of power. It requires patience, foresight, and a deep understanding of human nature. A trap is not just a snare for your enemies. It's a test of their intentions. It allows you to expose deception, provoke action, and shift power in your direction without appearing aggressive. The most effective traps are psychological. They are built not with force but with suggestion, misdirection, and the illusion of opportunity. A good trap makes the other person believe they are in control, that they are making their own decisions, while in reality, every step they take is leading them exactly where you want them to go. People reveal their true character when they believe no one is watching or when they think they have the upper hand. A strategic trap sets the stage for this exposure. You might offer someone a small win, a tempting opportunity, or a false sense of superiority. This lowers their guard and encourages boldness. In that boldness, they show you who they really are. They reveal their desires, their greed, their weakness. And when they step too far, When they cross the line you've drawn, that's when the trap closes. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be quiet, even graceful. But the outcome is the same: you emerge in control, and they are left disoriented, confused as to how they fell so easily into your hands. Strategic traps also serve to create boundaries without confrontation. Instead of declaring war, you observe. Instead of warning people, you test them. This gives you leverage. You are no longer reacting to rumors, threats, or disloyalty. You are exposing it with undeniable evidence. And when the moment comes to act, you do so from a position of clarity and dominance, not emotion. That difference changes everything. It's the difference between chaos and order, between being manipulated and being the manipulator. Building a trap requires more than cleverness. It demands emotional control, timing, and the ability to delay gratification. The trap must not only catch your target, it must teach them a lesson. The moment they realize they've been outplayed, respect begins to form, not because you threatened them, but because you saw further, acted smarter, and let them walk into the consequences of their own choices. Staying cold and calculated is one of the most difficult disciplines to master, but it is also one of the most powerful. Emotions are the easiest way to be manipulated, provoked, or distracted. Those who lack emotional control reveal too much, react too quickly, and give away their position before a strategy can be fully executed. Machiavelli understood that in order to maintain power, you must operate with a level of detachment. This doesn't mean being emotionless. It means using your emotions, not being used by them. When you can feel anger, fear, or pride but choose not to act on them impulsively, you become unpredictable, and that unpredictability gives you control over every situation. A cold and calculated person doesn't make decisions out of revenge or ego. They wait, they study, they observe the landscape, gather information, and move with precision. Their calm presence unsettles others. In a world where most people are loud, reactive, and eager to prove themselves, the one who remains still commands attention. Silence becomes a language. Stillness becomes strategy. It creates an aura of mystery and strength. People don't know what you're thinking, and in their attempt to guess, they expose their own insecurities. You gain psychological leverage simply by not responding. Cold calculation is not about cruelty, it's about clarity. When emotions are removed from the decision-making process, what remains is pure logic and strategy. You no longer fear discomfort or confrontation, because your goal is not to feel good, but to win. You stop making choices based on validation and start acting based on outcomes. This shift changes how others interact with you. They begin to see you as someone who cannot be swayed, someone who cannot be baited into drama, someone whose silence is more dangerous than someone else's threats. People who stay cold under pressure make fewer mistakes. They are not slaves to mood or circumstance. They don't speak just to fill silence. They don't move just because others expect them to. This gives them the ability to conserve energy, measure the right moment, and strike when the odds are fully in their favor. Every word they say carries weight because they speak so rarely. Every action feels deliberate because it's never rushed. The world respects those who stay in control, while everyone else loses theirs in a world driven by perception, emotion, and competition. True power belongs to those who move with intention, speak with purpose, and act with calculated precision. The Machiavellian mindset is not about deception for its own sake. It's about control, strategy, and survival in a world where most are ruled by impulse. When you master the art of perception, control your own narrative, appear weak while holding real strength, set intelligent traps, and remain cold and calculated, you elevate yourself above the noise. You stop reacting, and you start shaping. Respect does not come from noise or force. It comes from presence, from discipline, from your ability to play the long game while others chase quick wins. Even your enemies will come to recognize your strength, not because you demanded it, but because you gave them no choice.